has the cot in his office. He won't show you.
Everybody?
Hello, Kathy.
Good afternoon. Good evening.
Your afternoons are running late, I was going to say.
January's, they just run forever.
It's Ian, Kathy.
So Lisa, are there any concerns in town on Inauguration Day that something may spill out from the?
You know, like I think every other municipality, everybody's kind of keeping their eyes and ears, but it's not even on election day. I think it's the weekend before that people are concerned about what people are actually on.
I'm talking to my clients about that since a lot of my clients insure the cities and towns all around the capitals, around law enforcement and workers' comp. The one I did get to speak to today was not very concerned. I was surprised.
Yeah.
He said it's basically going to be.
I see we got Rick Roberts is with us.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Nice. I got in.
So we're just waiting on Bob Herr. Nope. Do we have Bob? Nope. We need Bob Herr. Whoops, I don't know what I just did. Oh dear. I'll tell you, this technology and me are not friends. I'm gonna go out, come back in. Okay. All right.
There you go.
All right. I don't know what happened there, but back. Well, we do have a quorum right now, so if you want to get started, Jeff, we can.
Am I officially chairperson? Because I see item number 2 is election of chair and secretary.
Well, we bumped that up to last month's meeting, and we all voted on it, so we can just bypass that. But because it was on the annual agenda, I have to mirror the town clerk's annual agenda.
I wrote that, then I wasn't sure if the transition of power has happened peacefully or not. So,
We all look happy, so. Although I can't see Rick.
okay.
Am I back on?
Yep.
Your voice is.
All right, I got kicked out. I'll be back. There I am.
There he is.
First item is the minutes of the December 14th, 2020 meeting. I'll take a motion to approve the minutes or discuss.
I move we approve the minutes.
A second.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Or raise a hand. Any opposed? Okay, motion is approved. Number 2, It sounds like the election of the RMAB chair and secretary was accomplished last meeting, so Lisa, do you agree that that's the non-issue this meeting?
Yep, we can just note in the minutes that it was done at the prior meeting and everyone still is in favor.
So noted. Item number 3 is the review of the risk management program and the RMAB role. And Lisa sent out a package this afternoon with 6 pages. Lisa, would you like to lead us through it?
Hang on a sec, I gotta get back in here. All right. The risk management programs are comprised of an administrative fund. We have our self-insured programs, our fully insured programs, our town health program, and the heart and hypertension. So the programs are overseen by risk managers and the director of finance as well as HR. I'm just trying to pull up my info here.
Hey, Lisa, can I make a recommendation that anybody besides you go on mute? Because there's noise interfering with you.
Okay. So just opening my RMAB stuff here. Okay. So the role, we are on the roll, correct? I'm losing my train of thought here. Where are we? Yes. Okay. So the role of the Risk Management Advisory Board is, it falls under the ordinance of the town, and it's ordinance 18-18. It's called the Risk Management Program. And in that ordinance, you'll see that the town manager and superintendent put together an operating budget of the general fund appropriations to the risk management program. That program pays benefits to employees and for claims. So part of that is to oversee that budget and that fund. By ordinance, we have to have a risk management advisory board. And the role of the board is to review all of the funding, the investments, and to make recommendations to the town council for appropriate funding. My video keeps popping out. It's been one of those days today. And the role of the board is advisory. It's made up of 6 citizens appointed, 3 by the town council, 3 by the Board of Education. There has to be an equal number of Democrats and Republicans on each side. So the Board of Ed and the town, as you people were all appointed, they'll make recommendations. And we're in that process right now for somebody to fill Rick's outgoing position as well as Michonne. So that's pretty much the role of the board, is to, you're an advisory panel, you're to oversee the program, you make recommendations regarding the investments, the funding, the way claims are being handled. So that's the role. And the program is what we've submitted before, and Lisa will show you the budget as to what the program consists of. The town is self-insured. So for most of its programs, we purchase insurance for our excess and our specialty coverages. But overall, the risk program is its own entity. It doesn't, it's not combined with the general fund. It's its own funded program. And some of the programs outside of funding that we look at our special events, our schools, interscholastic sports, and our professional lines of coverage. So most of you are pretty familiar with the program right now, but that's how you interface with us. And basically that's what item number 3 is about. Either Rick, if you have anything else to add, feel free to jump in or shoot me any questions.
I think you covered that very well, Lisa. So, so it is, as Lisa, the only thing I would add is it is a internal service fund, so it's separate of our general fund. So, so we fund those 6 programs: workers' compensation, heart and hypertension, our health programs, our self-insure program, and insure program through the risk fund. So the general fund makes a contribution into the risk fund and is allocated among those 6 different programs. And gains and losses are amortized over 5 years. So if we have a good year, we can build into the surplus. If we have a bad year, we can take from the surplus to offset that bad year and smooth those gains and losses out over a predetermined time period. Some, in many respects, like our pension fund to a certain degree. So that would be the only thing I would add to that.
Lisa, the self-insured programs would be basically the liability programs, auto liability, automobile physical damage, general liability, public officials, school leaders. Is that pretty much it? And law enforcement?
Yeah, that's it, Jeff.
And then the insured program will be the property for the most part, maybe surety. And do you have any issues with computer hacking?
The insured program is the property and the excess policies, sports, international travel. We also have, what was the last one? I got a kid calling me in the background. Where are you going? But yeah, the insured program is mostly it's all the liability side of things.
And what's the town's net retention on the self-insured side now?
250.
How much? 250?
250,000, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And on workers' comp?
Workers' comp, we just went to a 600 this past year. We were at a 500.
With safety?
With Safety National.
They're pushing everybody up.
They've continued to renew with us. We thought we were going to go to a 600 2 years ago, and we were able to maintain that 500. We did have a couple large claims that settled with them, so it wasn't a shock that we had to go to a 6.
Mm-hmm.
But the premium actually went down for a 6, so we saved in premium, but we had a little more exposure, to absorb.
So just for us non-insurance people, that means that if a police officer has a workers' comp claim, the first $250,000 is paid by the town, and then we have reinsurance of some sort. Is that how the 250? Is that what that means?
Yeah, the first 250 is we own that expense, and then anything over that, we have insurance, excess insurance that pays, and it's 3 tiers.
But if a policeman is injured, that's workers' comp. That's a $600,000 net.
Yes, that'd be a 600. First 600 if they were injured. If it was the professional lines, police, law enforcement liability, it would be a 250.
Okay.
Yeah, so just there's different retentions under each program. And that's summarized in the insurance programs list that Lisa puts out. So there's variations on what the retention is for each line of insurance. But what do you, Lisa, can you just, what do you figure the total exposure is with all the retentions? If something happened that crossed multiple lines, it could go to like $1,250,000, $1,300,000 if it hit all lines,
About
something like
$1 million,
that.
about $1 million too.
That's a pretty difficult circumstance, an occurrence. That's not a very likely occurrence to have happen.
It would be a 9/11 event.
Yeah. Which we shouldn't have a 9/11 in West Hartford.
Hopefully not. I live too close to town hall for a 9/11 event.
Mhm. Should we go through these exhibits? I'm not sure how familiar some of the board members are. I've looked at these and understand fairly much what they are. Who is most familiar with the exhibits?
For somebody who's not familiar at all, sorry.
The risk management fund exhibits.
Yeah, would you mind if I just ran through some of them, being not familiar with them at all, to kind of see if we can level set what it all means?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So if the first page here, I'm looking at 2020 risk management fund, internal transfers to 2.8 million. Is that what came from the general account into this program? Is that the revenue? Or am I reading this wrong?
That's the document that I emailed out is, Lisa Newton is gonna be speaking on that. That's an agenda item.
Oh, okay. I'm looking at the wrong thing then?
Is that number 4?
No, yeah, Ian's on the right document.
Okay. So the 2.807971, that number there, right? 2020.
Right, so
Internal.
basically so this is Lisa Newton. Hi, everybody. I'm the financial operations manager for the town of West Hartford. So I handle the financial side of the risk management internal service fund. So the first line item you see, interfund transfers, yes, that is the contribution from both the general fund and all other funds. It's their portion of the workers' comp total. So it's the interfund transfers from all of the other funds into the workers' comp program. So that's the revenue coming in from all of the other funds.
When you say all the other funds, what does that mean?
So we have we have the general fund, we have leisure services fund pays part of that, every single fund. All of the special revenue funds, Westmore Park, I can go on and on. There's like 20 funds that fund that. The majority of it is, yes, from the general fund, but every single fund we have and every single program within that fund funds a portion of, they get an allocation of that.
So in
The
essence,
risk
what you're
management fund.
doing
So
is
all of these
charging-
have different kinds of employees, and all these employer groups participate and contribute some based on their
It can be,
payroll or something?
all of these are based on different kind of allocation factors. So workers' comp, I believe, is based on, if I remember right, I didn't bring that with me, but it's based on the average 3 years claims within that specific department or within that specific fund. And it gets allocated based on a percentage of those claims. The total cost gets allocated based on a percentage of the claims within that fund.
Okay,
So
okay.
in essence, what you're doing is figuring out how much money you need and charging a premium to these various insurers.
That is correct. And that premium is based on history of claims.
Yeah, it's going to be it's exposure based too, I think, if I recall
Yeah,
that
it is.
there's going to be some head count factor, then there's going to be a claims exposure factor, and it all gets blended together to come up with an allocation that they each take out of their separate funds to throw into this fund.
That's the same for any of these
Okay.
programs that we're talking of, the 6 programs.
So
Right.
it's not
No,
dissimilar.
okay, I got it.
It's not dissimilar from what an insurance company would do when they figure out how much premium they want and they allocate it out to the various insureds. West Hartford,
right.
in essence, has a group of insureds underneath their umbrella, Westmore
Mhm.
Park, et cetera.
That's correct.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so do you want to go through the programs?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just trying to get a big picture, but go ahead. Yeah.
Okay,
Go
so
ahead.
basically overall, I can speak of fiscal year 2020. Unfortunately, I did not write the narrative for the financial statements yet, so what I sent you is just the financial portion. I think this will make a lot more sense, and I'll try to have it done by the next meeting, but the narrative will explain how these numbers came about. It'll explain more of how many claims were this year versus last year, and it just gives you a better understanding. Numbers are just kind of hard to just look at and say, oh, it makes sense to me. But overall, the risk management program last year in fiscal year 20 had a very positive year. Net assets increased 1.8 million, which is fantastic. Investment income amongst all the programs was very good. We earned $1.5 million and only budgeted $132,000. We typically don't budget a lot into risk because we don't know and we can't count on that income for the claims that are going to happen if we don't get it. It'll just cause us to be more negative. Retiree health claims in general were down in fiscal year 2020 by about $1.2 million. So overall, the program did very, very well. Every program had a positive net asset in fiscal year 2020, which is very rare. So if we look at workers' comp, what I gave you was a 5-year look at the specific programs. And so in workers' comp in 2018 or 2017, excuse me, we had a $1.2 million negative balance in our fund balance. So the town in 2018 made a conscious decision to try to increase the retained earnings in that because we're trying to maintain and excuse me, in workers' comp a reserve balance of about 250,000. So we made a conscious decision to transfer from a different program that was doing well, 750,000 over in 2018, trying over time to bring it back up to 250. In fiscal year 2020, we our retained earnings went up to 146,000. So we're working towards that. And 2020 was a very good year for us. Claims were down 475,000 in workers' comp claims just in fiscal year 2020.
Okay.
So the number of lost days in 2020 went down 546 days. So, and you'll see that in the narrative when I write it more thoroughly, but that's the equivalent of 12 full-time employees. So it went down significantly. For town health, we had a really good year. Unreserved fund balance went up almost 700,000. And that basically was a result of lower healthcare claims, a lot of them being in retiree health. We saw a little bit of an incline in Rick. Step in anytime if I'm saying something incorrectly. But we did see an incline in retiree prescription expense, but overall all claims were lower. So we saw that program increase by a net of about $600,000. So that was very positive. Heart and hypertension, we had a slight increase in net assets that year. In fiscal years 18 and 19, the claims were very, very high. They went more down to a normal level in fiscal year 2020. And the recommended reserve balance in that is about 100,000. So we're working to increase it to that. We're at a negative 312 right now. So as we do the budget for fiscal year 22, we take all of these, like Rick had said, these negative balances or positive balances, and we amortize them over X amount of years based on the positive or negative.
What sort of claims are coming in now on heart and hypertension? That thing's been shut down for 24 years.
Rick, you might be able to answer that a little bit better than I can.
Yeah, Lisa can provide the details on, or she and I we just actually reported on our budget this past week. So she has a little bit of detail on that heart and hypertension.
We had a couple of old claims resurrect because we still have people who are alive who are receiving benefits. And we had one large heart and hypertension claim that went to litigation, and we ended up winning at the commission, losing at the appellate. Then we went to the CRB. Prior to the CRB, we negotiated a settlement upwards of, it was $185,000 claim. We had another employee who's on maintenance medication have a heart attack. So as these claims get resurrected, we still own them. And it's really hard to predict the heart and hypertensions. I sit down and I look at the average age of most of the claimants that are receiving benefits. And I try to put a projection on life expectancy. When we try, it's sad, but we do. And I try to look at their medications and do we need to set a 5-year reserve or can we take it down to a 2-year reserve? But anything can happen during these heart claims, and usually when they do happen, it's bad. So that program, you know, we'll have a couple really good years and then we'll get hit hard. So, you know,
Lisa, if I recall, weren't there a few former police chiefs in those numbers, and there's 1 or 2 that are still alive?
Yeah, there are. There's.
So their claim just stays with the town until they pass away.
Correct.
The law said that you had to be hired on or before July 1st or January 1st of 1996 to be eligible for this benefit. And so it's been shut down from an employee perspective for 24 years, but it still generates incredible dollars of loss.
Yeah, when you retire at 50, you're still alive today.
Yeah.
But actually, there was a period in between that there's the presumptive benefit, then it was taken away, but then there was another period of time that if they can prove that their job caused it, we still own them. So it was like around 95, 96-ish. And so we're not totally out of the woods with these yet. They're still existing right now, and there still is a heart and hypertension benefit on the books. But again, they have to prove that the job caused it. And typically, like if a guy's up on the ladder and he has a heart attack with no other symptoms other than maybe like a heat stroke, that's going to fall under workers' comp and not heart and hypertension. So it depends on the situation. But, you know, we have these young people and they go in for a valve replacement and they get these enormous permanencies, you know, 30, 40, 50% of the heart. And, you know, it's a retired police officer and their comp rate's upwards to, you know, $1,000 to $1,200 a week. There's an $80,000 bill. And you don't know when they're going to hit. So it's really, it's a guess. It's just throw the dice.
Lisa, you want to move on?
Sure. So I think we're on, hold on, lost my paper. So we're on to self-insured. So in self-insured, we did well again. Our net assets changed by 445,000, so they increased by 445. Our goal in self-insured is to maintain a risk reserve balance of $1.5 million for any unforeseen losses that may occur. That's the recommended reserve. We are currently at 1.8 million. So
Can I, quick question, is it possible maybe for the future reports to have that on each of these to say what the target goal is for each of these programs?
No
So we
problem.
can kind of get a reference as to whether we're doing good or not.
Yep, and the narrative and the risk report will tell you that as well, but I can certainly add it to these exhibits.
Great, thank you.
And this was the liability side of things, correct?
Lisa, yeah, I think that's what it is, right,
Yeah,
Lisa?
the self-insured program.
Yep. And then so for insured, it's pretty much just stable. It had a slight increase, change in net assets to 59,000. That we just try to maintain a minimal balance in the unreserved.
And this is with Factory Mutual?
Lisa, you can probably tell. I don't remember.
The insurance
Factory neutral is a property.
is the property.
Are you seeing any significant increases in rate this year?
I've been in touch with Factory Mutual. We're maintaining a 1% on our values of our properties. They're looking at, they won't give me an exact number, but they said it'll be less than last year. I asked them if 13% was probably a good ballpark. They thought it would be, but it may come in lower than 13. So hopefully I'll hear from them in the next couple weeks. I mean, January is really early to be getting rates from carriers. They're just not ready to put them out there yet. So I think we're probably going to come in lower, but I had to set at least a 13 in my reserve for this coming year.
Mm-hmm. Property rates are jumping like crazy.
Yeah.
You mentioned using claim experience to set the premiums to the other funds. Are you doing anything to adjust for the abnormalities of 2020, like throwing it out? Or, I mean, 2021 may end up looking like 2020, but the COVID impact, especially on the side, is enormous, right? People aren't going to get stuff done. No one wants to go near a hospital when there's all the COVID stuff going on. So I don't know. I don't know if you have formulas out there that'll just automatically reduce premiums to.
So are you talking about premiums for healthcare?
Yeah, well, but no, back to the charges to the funds. You mentioned to each of the incoming funds that the sources for this account that you adjust them based on claim experience and
It depends on the program, but for town health, it's different. That's based on the number of insured employees within that specific fund and department. So that's clearly a flat claim based on the number of employees within that department that are insured, or in that fund that are insured.
You're not adjusting based on their claim experience.
For health, that isn't how we do it. I mean, certainly we might do something different. Rick and I and Lisa are going to be talking about next year's budget soon. But that's not the way we've done it before.
Okay. I mean, I would think the same would be true for workers' comp, that the reason things were down, you know, that it's, a lot of this is COVID related. It's not like something magical happened that caused workers' comp, right?
Yeah, right. COVID's going to have an impact, but I've just read historically, it's kind of dangerous to start allocating healthcare premiums based on claims, because then individual people within departments start trying to manage those claims and they start looking for information they shouldn't have. And it gets really kind of dicey with HIPAA.
I wasn't recommending it happened. I must have misheard you. I thought earlier you said it was based on claim experience. That's what I was worried about, is particularly.
Well, that's on the risk management side. On the employee benefits side, it's a different measure.
Okay.
So initially we were talking about the risk management budget, which is the property casualty, liability insurance and all that. And that's a different allocation methodology than happens under the health side.
Okay.
And there is something to be said for that for the comp side, because a lot of people are working home, but not the first responders. So there's a great likelihood that most years that the first responders will be contributing claims as opposed to DPW. Well, DPW's been out also, but the teachers have been working in a different way, and the gym teachers. There may be some some anomalies this year in the distribution of losses.
Right, and remember that this report only goes through June 30th of 2020, so we were just starting the pandemic. This year might be a whole different ballgame. I haven't really had a chance, and I can try to do that for the next meeting, is look at the projection for fiscal year 21, which we will do in part of our budget process, and we can kind of give you an update if that's something you're interested in for the next meeting.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay. So again, now we're back to Board of Ed Health. Basically, same thing. Claims were relatively decent. Change in net assets was 152,000. Rick, you might be able to talk more to that because we went to the state partnership plan on the BOE side, and I'm not really that familiar with that.
Yeah, so moving, actually, this fiscal year is a perfect example of that as well. So moving forward on the Board of Ed side, we moved, if everyone remembers, we talked about this probably about a year ago. Ian wasn't here for that, but we moved the Board of Education from Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield self-insured under our plan, and we moved them into the state partnership plan. So essentially, we are self-insured with the state of Connecticut. So the state of Connecticut allows all municipalities around the state the opportunity, if it makes sense, to join their healthcare plan. For us, it did make fiscal sense to do that. We saved about $2 million in making that move. And now that we're in the state partnership plan, we're self-insured with the state, or the state self-insured, but they charge each municipality a fully insured rate. So we pay a rate based on every employee plus one, and family member, and that's a fixed cost that we pay into the state, no matter what the claims are. So if it's a great year, the state makes out. If it's a bad year for us, we make out. So even though we're self-insured technically, we do pay a fixed cost, and we are not balance billed for any gains or losses for our plan moving forward. So as we move forward, we have a great reserve built up for the Board of Education, as you can see in Lisa's exhibit. But I think you'll see that number pretty much plateau at this point. It will stay flat as we move forward, generally speaking, because of that fixed cost that we're making, fixed payment that we're making to the state of Connecticut.
So fixed payment, fixed cost, and also fixed liabilities then, right? Because
Correct.
the state's taken over all the liabilities.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. And this is, sorry, this might sound stupid, but this is just the people in the town that are employed in the education part?
Exactly. Yep. So the Board of Education
Okay.
only is in the state partnership plan. The town is in an Aetna PPO plan and an Anthem high deductible health plan. So we have two plans available for the town.
Okay.
Rick, are retirees for Board of Ed in that state partnership as well?
They are. Yeah. So the beauty of the board and moving into the state partnership plan is we had the ability to take all of our retirees and move them in as well, not just prospective retirees, but all of our existing retirees. So that's where we were able to save a significant amount of money by making that move.
Had you mentioned previously that the town employees may be moving there as well?
We are, it's a good question, Jeff. It's, we're in negotiations right now. So if we were in closed session at the town hall, I'd probably expand on that a little bit more, but we're in a public setting here.
Yeah.
So.
But we're not on Zoom. We don't need a motion or anything on this discussion item, do we? This is for discussion only?
Correct, yeah.
Okay. Any questions on item number 4, the results?
Nope.
On to item number 5, retiree health evaluation. Is that Rick?
Still haven't, Lisa, have you seen do we have a final report on from Milliman yet?
Talking to me?
Yeah, Lisa Newton, yeah. Too many Lisas.
I don't know. I don't think we do have a final report yet.
Okay. So we will, we'll try to get that to you for next month.
We'll prefer to, is the next meeting February?
Lisa Mashad, when's our next meeting?
I want to say it's February 8th.
Yes. So we'll defer item 5, retiree health evaluation, until the February 8th meeting.
Yeah.
Number 6, 2021 operating procedures of the RMAB. Did everybody get a copy of these and get a chance to review them?
Yes, I did.
Rick Roberts, what would you typically do on an item like this?
Well, based on people's past activities on this panel and the board, if anybody sees anything in there that seems not to be correct, or if there's additional items that should be added to the operating procedures, that's what this agenda item is for. We have looked at it each year, and we haven't made a change in, I'm going to say, 4 years. They've kind of held up as far as what's being asked in this group to do. So it's kind of just a review, and if you see anything in there that looks like it's out of date, or if there's additional items that have to be added, let Jeff know, and then Jeff, you can bring it back to the group to get them added on or taken out.
Is there a concern that last year we didn't get to 6 meetings because of COVID? Is there some consideration that should be put into the procedures for that?
I don't know. Lisa, I was wondering about that. What did we get in 4 meetings last year?
Well, we had it was per the governor that we were not held to the number of meetings. So there was a release handed down by the governor. So we didn't violate anything. I'd be cautious about changing the procedures because COVID hopefully is only going to be for a set period of time. So I wouldn't put a specific reference to COVID in there because, you know, the governor trumps what we do anyway. So, you know, if you wanted to add something to number 2, it says a minimum of 6 regular meetings in a calendar year. You know, if you wanted to put a line item in there about unless otherwise determined by the higher governing authority, I would just leave it as simple as that. I wouldn't get into the specifics.
Well, that's basically what I was thinking, just to make sure we're covered in case, who knows what the next thing will be. But there may be a situation when the state or whatever, it may be shut down, and that would make this a little more complete and compliant, perhaps.
Yeah. We'd have to, because the operating procedures references the Articles Section 1818 of the Code of Ordinance, I need to check with Essie to make sure that we can actually add to that line to it. So if you'd like, I'll check with her and then we can revisit this at the next meeting.
Sounds like a good idea.
Because the operating procedures are based off of that ordinance, and I just want to make sure that we won't be violating anything by adding lines to this.
Yeah, okay. Very good, thank you. Any other discussion items on the operating procedures? Any questions, issues that anybody might have?
I'm sorry, I have a quick issue, and it's probably my fault. I only have the emails, let's see, from Lisa, with the risk report, the minutes from last time, and the chart she just sent out. So I don't have the other items. Could you resend that to me real quick, Lisa? The other things that we're looking at?
The procedures and the ordinances?
Yeah, yeah, and if there's anything else in the agenda, I'm sorry, or when was it sent? Maybe I do have it.
It was, I'd have to look back. It'd probably be quicker for me just to shoot them to you.
Yeah, if you could quickly shoot it to me, thank you.
Yep.
That would also include the board objectives then, probably.
Yep.
Yep.
Right.
While I'm doing that, I just wanted you to know I did send out the policy, the chart of policies, just for your information, and it shows all of the retentions for each of the programs that Jeff was asking about, so that way you have everything.
Any other discussion on number 6, the operating procedures? Number 7, 2021 Risk Management Advisory Board objectives. Ian, I suspect you haven't had a chance to review it. Has everybody else had a chance to review?
I just sent it to Ian.
Does anyone have any questions, comments, issues with the objectives? I think this has been the objective list for many years. Is that correct, Rick and
Yeah,
Lisa?
it's been quite a while.
2009.
2009.
Yeah.
Is there anything new that comes up that might impact the objectives? None that I can think of.
None that I,
Rick Roberts, you are the professor.
I don't think there's any changes based on, what this group's been asked to do. So I would say no. If the group thinks that there's other things that could be done or should be done to help out, then we'd want to revisit them.
Okay. Is it appropriate to say if anybody has a chance to review it by the February 8th meeting and wants to discuss it further, we can add that as an additional discussion item?
Yep.
we have to add these things under other, because I can't edit the agenda once the annual agenda is posted to the clerk's office. So we would have to add them as other items.
Okay.
Just for your
But that's the way to do it. If there are any changes in the future, just add it as a supplemental item.
Yep.
Okay. Is there any other business for the meeting tonight? Anybody have questions, issues, concerns?
I had a couple of questions that hopefully, you want to go first, Lisa? Or?
Real quick, Rick. I just wanted to follow up to the good news that Lisa shared about the risk program and the reduction in lost days. Part of that, in fact, probably a big part of that, is due to the implementation of light duty for police and fire. We've seen a decrease in both departments, especially fire, having their employees come in on a light duty capacity. So, kudos to the negotiation teams to get light duty on the books for public safety, because we're seeing it now in those numbers. So I just wanted to add that to the.
Was that something that you had to negotiate with the unions?
Yes.
What does that mean, light duty?
When a person's out on workers' compensation, if the doctor determines that they have a work capacity, but in a restrictive situation, such as they can't lift greater than 5 pounds or 10 pounds, it's then up to the employer to determine if that accommodation could be made. And we never had light duty. So it contradicted with the actual ordinance, the regulations from the Workers' Comp Commission. Because there's a statute that says an employer must take an employee back if work is available. But the collective bargaining agreement said no light duty, so they have to be full capacity. So we have people out, twice as long because maybe they couldn't bend this finger. So they'd say, well, I'm not at full duty. And the doctor would say, yeah, they're not at full duty. And they'd stay out until they could bend that finger fully. It was that bad. So I think we're a few years in now, and we're really starting to see the benefits of having people back. So we just overall think it's a great thing for workers' comp.
Okay, so basically meaning they can do some work, just maybe not the full of but they're no longer on the disability insurance part of it, but they're getting their full paycheck instead?
Right, because when they were out on temporary partial, light duty, they were still getting their full pay. So they were getting their full pay to sit home, and they may have had a simple restriction of they couldn't lift 5 pounds. So if we have another employee that can assist them and help them lift, that object, they could be at work full duty, working their regular job, getting the regular pay versus workers' comp pay. So the benefit to the workers' comp program is getting these people back, because once they're in the office doing their job, it's coded as regular hours, not as workers' comp.
And when did that change happen, Lisa?
Rick, I don't remember the years for fire was before police.
So police was 2018, and fire was probably 2014, 2015, 2016, a couple of years before police.
Yeah.
Or no, actually it was after Right around the same time, actually, now that I'm thinking it through. We did an
Fire
extension
was
on fire.
first.
Say that again?
Fire was first.
Yeah, fire might have been 2017 and police was 2018, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
the workers' comp does look like it's in very good shape, and that is a major contributor, I'm sure.
Yeah, it is, and we're going to be looking into a managed care program for the upcoming year too. So that's something I'm going to be looking at with PMA in the state of Connecticut. So hopefully we may be able to manage the doctor's costs and treatment plans a little closer.
In my experience with my clients, managed care programs have saved somewhere around, I think, 20 to 30% of medical, which in Connecticut is about 55% of the total dollar typically. So it's got a lot of potential to save money.
Yep.
Are there any other items to bring up?
I just had a couple of questions, generally. Rick and Lisa, I know after the deal fell through on the Yukon property, I understand there's some liabilities that might have been picked up to the town that are possibly different than normal. Is that something this group should be made aware of? Like you got vacant land over there, you got, whatever's going to be done with building, since whatever that company, I can't remember who the company was. It was a Chinese company or something's going to buy it.
Idea.
Yeah, it was Ideanomics who owned it, and they're in the process of, we don't own it right now, Rick, so they're in the process of selling it. We have the right of first refusal.
Okay.
And I haven't heard much on what's happening with that. I know, I believe that expired on 12/31 of 20. So, but I haven't heard much.
So the town has no exposure?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought I had heard something going on that the town had picked up some exposure that was a little different. But if you could just let us know next meeting that nothing changed.
Yeah.
So Ideanomics still owns it.
They do. Yeah. I mean, they're actively. There's a commercial real estate or a realtor involved in trying to find an owner or a buyer. So I would assume that Ideanomics still owns it and it hasn't reverted back to the state or anything.
Mm-hmm.
So
They still do own it. They're still paying property tax.
okay. All right. Thanks.
And they've canceled their plans that they originally had?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So they're trying to sell it now, and then I assume nothing's been cleaned up, right? Wasn't that a big hazardous waste site or something?
There were some issues they were dealing with. Yeah. Mitigating. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure the new buyer will have to assume some of that. I don't, to be honest with you, I don't know a whole lot about it. So I'm shooting from the hip with that, but, and I believe Ideanomics is in a lot of financial trouble, which is why they're trying to get out at this point.
It's about a $3 stock.
Is it $3?
Oh, really?
$2 to $3. It bounces up and down 30% a day.
Oh, wow. Okay. And then what would happen? Would it go back to the state if they go bankrupt, or if they sell it or not sell it?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. I think they'd be on, well, they own it, so it's their asset. So I don't
Go to
believe
bankruptcy?
it would, but yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so can you just give us a little update on if there is any exposure to the town then, Rick? If not, that's fine. I just thought I'd heard there was a little exposure.
Okay.
Second item I think might be of interest to the group. As you know, Lisa, I volunteer for the food pantry. And I happened to be in the food pantry when the town went down on shutdown for that active shooter
Yep.
incident that fortunately, and just ended up being a procedural thing. I think it'd be worth the group seeing what that active shooter program is, if there is a write-up of it. I think it was very well carried out. I think it was, I think everything, Rick, you tell me if it's different, but I happen to, like I said, I happen to be in the building. The police came through. I think that if for anything, it was a good practice session. And, I think they did what they were supposed to do. So that's just another evidence of what risk management does for the town that I think the group would be enlightened by if you have something that you can share on that.
Well, we have the architect of our active shooter program on the call with us this evening, and Lisa Mashad, who built that with our police department. Through her leadership and the leadership of the police department, I'd say a little over, about 16, 18 months ago, we started the design and implementation of that program. So Lisa's done all of the writing of the program, the training of the program. We had a drill planned for the town hall right when COVID hit, literally March 28th or something like that. We had the active shooter drill planned. And so we never really got to what happened when you were in the building, Rick, but it was great to see the response of the town hall from top to bottom, floor 1 to floor 4. And everybody did what they were supposed to do, which was outstanding. Yeah, it really seemed like the plan was well implemented and people could follow it. Other than nobody knowing what caused the issue, which was kind of intriguing. So that'll be corrected too. But we did correct that. We did. Yeah, literally. That's just one of those things. Literally, just a wrong number. You couldn't have. I mean, it's like hitting the lottery. In terms of someone for that incident to occur, I know.
Was that in town hall?
It was, yeah. So we have a system set up where you hit pound 911, and that hits essentially sends a message to the police department that we have an active shooter incident occurring in town hall. So that's all set up correctly. Back when we were setting the program up, IT, and we were doing training, IT had set up I think a 5-digit number maybe to hit that number to implement the training portion of the active shooter, and then that number was never taken down. So when someone was going to dial, and you have to hit 9 to dial outside of town hall, they didn't hit 9, they hit 1610, which is the area code for Pennsylvania. And that implemented the active shooter sound system within the town hall, but it didn't send anything to the police department. So all of our employees got the message, there's an active shooter incident, and we all went into lockdown, thinking it was a real situation. We quickly figured out within the first few minutes that it was not an incident.
Does something like that exist in the schools as well?
Oh yeah, the schools we've been doing this for years. We have emergency activation buttons. We have we do drills every other month in the schools. So yeah, the schools are we've had this for a long time.
Good.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, I know exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can put that on the agenda under other for our next meeting, and I can share that with you. I don't want to have it as a public. I mean, it is a public document, but I don't want to put it on blast with the town clerk, because a lot of our procedures and our like we have, we've since this drill we've now implemented a double notification when the drill is over. So the police department will come on the PA and let them know 2 times that it's over. And that's our cue that it's actually the police department and they're not being held hostage. So we have some things in there that we wouldn't want being put on blast to, get in the wrong hands. But I'll be happy to share that program with you during our next meeting.
I think it's just good information for the group to have. And then again, with the food pantry, I heard, I think I got on a minute or two after you guys were talking a little bit about everything that's going on with all the threats going on around capitals and state buildings and blah, blah, blah. And again, with the food pantry, they have an outside event scheduled for Inauguration Day for handing out food. It may not be a great idea for people to be congregating outside town hall that day. So I don't know what, just something for you guys to consider.
Yeah.
You know, because it'll bring, if notice can get out that it's just changed to another day or something, but just for you guys to consider that.
I can mention that to the Legal Services Director.
Yeah, we'll shoot that up the ladder, Rick.
Because as you know, I think it's 2 or 3 days a week they hand out food, and there's a lot of people that do come through. And if anything weird happens, you know, it was weird that when the active shooter thing was going on, they were actually handing out food. So that caused another bit of an issue on volunteers being outside. Where the hell do they go? it was, and so, you know, you tested that program very well.
We did.
I got to call at home, and people thought I was doing a drill. I was getting blamed. I'm like, damn it, what's going on? I text Rick. He's like, "Yeah, we're in lockdown."
Yeah.
But it you know, now we've been able to see it. We're able to, like with any drill, you look, you see what you did right, what you did wrong, what you could do better. I'd say 90% of the drill went off without a hitch.
Yeah.
10% we need to look at. One was taking down that additional number so that people don't hit the lotto anymore. And but I think overall the program did what it was supposed to do, and people did what they were supposed to do.
Well, that's why you practice them.
Yep. So I have 2 quick things just to follow up. Rick, I did check in to see if you could serve another term, and Essie said, unfortunately, you can't, but you can remain on until your position is filled.
Okay. That's fine.
The other thing I just wanted to bring up for discussion is several years ago, the purpose of our meeting starting at 6 o'clock is because people were driving from their offices and having trouble getting to the town hall for 5 or 5:30 when the meetings were to take place. It's been several years now since that, and now that we're in a COVID virtual mode, and it'll probably be like this maybe for the remainder of this year. I didn't know if the board wanted to bring up discussion about the hours of the meetings. If this is a good time, bad time, just something to think about going forward. You know, I thought I'd throw that on the table.
What would work best for you guys?
I'm fine with this, but something else would work too. I don't mind Wednesday at 6.
The meetings are going to be on Mondays. We had to switch to Wednesday. This is kind of a fluke because the town clerk has to monitor our meetings, and they didn't have enough slots available on a Monday, and they were overwhelmed. So I agreed to give us another day for this meeting. But I don't know if the time is good. Is dinner time good, or would you prefer earlier, later? You know, not later. Please don't go later.
Can't go later. No.
Yeah. So it's just open for discussion. It doesn't have to be decided tonight. But I thought I'd throw that out there because it's been several years now.
What would work best for you?
Yeah, that's what I was asking.
I mean, you know, there's some that are fairly flexible, and then some who prefer, you know, I assume you'd rather not work at 6 o'clock at night, and you can understand that, you know.
Well, again, during the day, you know, it can be challenging for, you know, Rick and I with our schedules, but, you know, a little earlier, you know, a 4:30 meeting or a 5 o'clock meeting, but that's up in the air.
I'm fine with any of those.
Yeah, it's really your call. I mean, if it's, you know, we want to work
yeah.
around your schedules, obviously. So
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
forever
maybe-
it was 5 o'clock, and then, yeah, we went through a time period a few years ago, as Lisa said, where folks were struggling getting out of Hartford and into West Hartford for 5 o'clock. So we moved it. It's probably 3 years ago now. So, but whatever works for you guys.
I'm almost across the street from Town Hall, so it doesn't matter to me.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm fine with, I'd do at least 5 o'clock. I don't think we should do it before 5, you know, people working, but I'm fairly flexible too. I'd have to drive in. So 5:30 works for me.
Kathy,
Yeah, I'm flexible. I'm flexible.
you want to move it to 5:30 or 5? Lisa?
You guys let me know. It's your call.
I'm fine with any of them.
How about Bob? Does it matter to you?
5:14.
You're on mute.
You're on mute, Bob.
I'm flexible.
Let's do 5 o'clock. Rick can get out of the office earlier.
That works.
Makes me happy.
Yeah, you can get home earlier.
February 8th, 5 o'clock.
Sure.
Sounds good.
I will notify the clerk's office and change the agenda. Perfect. Thank you.
Rick Roberts, we should have a mind meld so that we can get all your knowledge out from all these years in the committee.
Whatever you want to do.
Are there any other matters to bring before the board? If none, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second? This meeting's
Second.
adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thanks.
Have a good night,
All right.
everyone.
All right.
Good night, everybody.